All right, so here we are going to go through the leftovers of the blue material for the pelisse. There was not much left over. In fact, it took a lot of creativity to get the entire full-length pelisse cut out of the amount of material that I had. So I'm finding the biggest chunks because I've decided I want to add a decorative puff cap at the top of the sleeves. And I've already cut out the band that will go around part of it. This section of the video, I'm going to figure out how I can cut from what I have to make some pieces that can be at the cap of the sleeve, and see what we can come up with. I believe these are all too small unless I wanted to make a type of ribbon, which I might do. Oh, here's a good chunk. So you can watch as we go along, and let's see what we can find. All right, let's have at it. So I'm still attempting to pretty much emulate or get an alignment with the grain line, which on this material is difficult because of the wavy pattern in there. Even though the line is running under the material, it still is tough to see that. And what I'm going to do, now this typically I would not use on a material that I'm going to have dry cleaned. However, I'm going to cut right inside the line with this, plus it would be in the seam allowance, so it would be okay. I just want a little, I'm taking the top of the sleeve from the garment, so we can follow that curve line the same. It's a heavier material, so I don't want to add too much in there where it would be gathered. I think that's good. I'm going to go bigger rather than smaller because this is one of my biggest pieces I have left. And so I want to, it's easier, as you know, I can cut more off later. And I wouldn't want to have a seam line there. This piece I'm using for a more of the length, not so much the shape at the top, and gives me a little bit of the grain line as well. So I'm going to have this come down all the way to here. Obviously you can see there's things cut out in here. I'm going to do this a little bit freestyle, and oh, here we go. We will just, yeah, even though I'm cutting this freestyle, and it's not necessarily a piece that will have a significant tailoring aspect, I do want them to match. So I'm still going to pin them together. This material is slippery enough that I wouldn't want to be cutting and then realize that I had cut and the material had moved, and then I have two different weird shapes on my shoulder cap. Not sure. I think I'm going to go follow along this line. I'm going to have this be fuller at the top and then taper down as it meets the band that will go over the sleeve and around my arm. I might change my mind with this once I start cutting, but that's what I have in mind right now. I think that will make the best use of this chunk of material. Yes, I am cutting this right side up because of the pattern on the material. I noticed I had a cleaner cut when the material was right side out. Very few materials that I cut right side out. And this is one of them. So this would make like a teardrop effect. I'm not sure if, just to be on the safe side, if I want to cut this further here and then adjust it with stitching and cut off the excess. I think I probably will do that. All right, here we go. Making up a decorative sleeve cap is underway. All right, so one other quick note. Normally with something like this, I would line it. Oftentimes, if it was a more flimsy material, I would also put interfacing. I did interface the collar of the jacket and that worked well. I think I will interface these. So you don't need to see me cut out interfacing. I'm going to use this piece as the pattern. Now, I do want another piece to run alongside the back. And I think that this would be a good piece for that. I'm going to get a feel for it by just laying it. Again, not so much looking at the top of this because it's not going to be anywhere near that full nor that round. But like if that was in the front part of the sleeve, I believe this could be towards the back, maybe touching at the top with the space in between. And then I would like a smaller one possibly for the front. So I'll probably interface this. As I look at it on here, I think I am going to cut it a little bit slimmer. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do a small rolled hem on the edge rather than lining it with material. I think that that's going to, if it has the interfacing, it will still have body and will stand up, but it won't have that additional fullness in the seam by not putting the lining in. All right, so this piece, believe it or not, I just kind of like it the way that it came out. That was a cut remnant that was literally that, just like that. So that's fine. And then I'm going to do a front piece out of this section. So if we look at a front piece, let me get this again. So we're going to want it to be, it's a pretty good estimation of the grain line. I'm looking at the grain and the material. You probably can't see that on the camera. Again, I will do this to get the slope. And I'll go ahead and use that marker as well, although that's probably too, let me go here. All right, got the marker. And one thing I would say about doing this, you know, I know there was a time earlier in sewing where doing something like this, I would have thought, oh my God, what are you doing? You know, you can't do that. You know what, you can. You're making this for yourself. You're making it for something fun. what's the end of the world if, you know, you mess up or something goes wrong. It doesn't matter. I mean, obviously, anyone this would matter to is not watching me, and they're not making these clothes. Anyone where it would really matter would be costumers or professional seamstress and tailors. And again, they wouldn't be watching my video. So feel free. Go ahead and play around with it. What's the worst that'll happen? You'll make this little sleeve cap. Before you attach it to your main garment, you realize you don't like it or it doesn't look right. And then you just don't attach it and go ahead with your regular pattern. Big deal. Makes it more fun when you, it really makes the garment your own when you do things like this. Yeah, I know that purple's there, but that's gonna, I wanted it to be slightly longer, and that'll be in the seam allowance. I'm gonna go fairly straight on this one, just a little curve towards the top. Yeah, I probably should have put some more pins, that's fine. A little notch. I'm gonna round this slightly and then go back out for a little shape there. We'll see how that comes out. All right, there we go. I have my 3 pieces for a decorative puff cap sleeve over top of the regular sleeve. See how it goes. Oh no. All right, so what I did here is I took scraps of fabric from cutting out the pelisse. I barely had anything left, and I went ahead and I found the largest chunks of material. I'm keeping some of this because I might make some decorative ribbon, or I might make something to go along the lower hem of the skirt. Since I'm focusing on the mid-18 teens, that's something that would happen. So I found 3 pieces of material. This, by the way, which is a perfect shape and size to put towards the back of the sleeve cap, that just is how that ended up from me cutting out the rest of the material. This, I found a decent sized chunk of fabric, made sure I was on the grain line, and then I used the sleeve cap as a guide that this will be matched up to make that top slope, and I used this sleeve as a guide for the length, and just kind of freestyled this. This one I found another chunk, and this will go to the front. I'm going to put some interfacing on the big piece. I haven't decided yet on the 2 side pieces, probably though, because I'm going to want them to be able to have some shape. I'm not going to line them because I don't want the additional material in a shoulder that could already potentially be bulky. And I will just do a little side rolled hem along all of the exposed edges of these. The interfacing I use will be a very light fusible, so it will not be able to be seen unless somebody literally came up right to my shoulder and peered inside of the sleeve. This is an experiment, so we'll see how it goes. If I don't like how it looks, then I won't include it when I attach the sleeve to the jacket. All right, here's it all about making it your own and having fun while you're sewing. Let's see how this goes. All right, so now that the interfacing is cut out, I'm actually going to see if I like the size of how these are compared to the band. So I already sort of checked it against the top of the shoulder. The middle one might be a little large, but I think it's going to be okay. This is the band that will go around the arm. So factoring in 5/8 inch seam allowance, it looks like this one could be placed here. This one could be right around here, which is right around the center part, so it'll be on the outside of the arm. And then this one can be here. So we're good to go. I'm gonna fuse the interfacing. I'm gonna stitch the band, and then go ahead and put these in. I'm not going to attach them to the band by machine. I'm going to leave them free and then attach them by hand in case I want them to stand up any further, and then I'll have a ribbon attachment from the piece to the band. But I did want to at least see, would there be a space between along here and room for the seam allowance, and we have all of that. So we're good to go.